One of the reasons I enjoy to play horror games is because it helps me with my depression. When you play a horror game, you are thrust into a world where nothing really makes sense and nothing good happens. You are surrounded by darkness and everything seems to want to or ends up hurting you and setting you back, which is very similar to the feelings that you have when you are depressed. You feel like you are cut off from the rest of society and you start to feel like everything is bad and nothing good can come from life. At some points it can be bad enough for me that even simple tasks such as eating, sleeping, or walking to the bathroom can become very hard, and I would rather stay in bed all day and do nothing. In a horror game, while you're in this horrific world, your job is to get out, find a way to leave the world where you're constantly hurting and afraid. And it can feel like a never-ending battle. You're afraid to move or leave a certain room because you might encounter something in the next. Horror games are about pushing through and succeeding against all of the odds, battling your way through the bad stuff to get to a better place. Games like The Evil Within and its sequel, but mostly the first one, as it's a much darker world, are set inside of a computer program that the main characters, and subsequently all other characters, are hooked up to. It's called STEM, and everyone's mind is contributing to what the world inside of STEM looks and acts like. And unfortunately, STEM has become corrupted by its core, a psychotic killer named Ruvik. And because Ruvik is the core, he ultimately controls how the characters influence the world, alongside his majority influence. Thus, the world is constantly changing and some new horror can appear at any given time, regardless of what else is happening. This is very similar to depression because you can't control when you're going to start feeling horrible. It can happen at any time, regardless of where you are or what you're doing. The feelings of dread that are commonplace when playing a horror game are very similar to how you feel when these emotions start taking control of you. You can't control how you feel or what happens inside your head. You can only fight what seems like a never-ending battle to get out of that dark place, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do. The monsters you can encounter in a lot of these games can be symbolic of depression. It's the source of all of the negativity that's in that world. It's constantly chasing after you. And in most survival horror games, there's nothing you can really do to stop it but run and overcome the fear of it until you can finally push through to the other side and finally get away from it. Ultimately, horror games show that while you are in a terrible place where bad things happen all the time and you're constantly afraid, you can push through. You can get to the other side. There is a happy ending, even if to get to that happy place, you have to go through a lot of bad shit. And that's why horror games have helped me personally deal with my depression.